Hi, Dad.
Hi, Paula.
So can you introduce yourself for everybody?
Well, I guess I could. People know me different name. I'm Marie Daigle.
And in French?
In French, Timon, they call me Timon, the French name. I'm from Bézardin, New Brunswick.
And what about your wrestling name?
My wrestling name was Cowboy Kirk.
And what years were you active?
I started wrestling around 64. Len Hughes was running the forum at that time. And in 64, then they shut down. And in 65, 66, I went to work for Grand Prix, Emile Dupree out of Shadiac, New Brunswick. We traveled the Maritime for the winter, PEI, Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and then came back. I left there. Then international wrestling opened up between Al Zink and Rudy K. They were the promoter. Rudy K was the boss. So I started working for them. I wrestled for them for 3, 4 years. And after that, when I left here, I went to work out of Montreal under the Vachon brothers. I believe they were the promoters. There was somebody else with them. I don't know who the guy was. And I went to Montreal under Grand Prix Wrestling. And I worked there. I worked for them for about a year or so. Then I decided to come home and
Change your career.
change my career in different ways.
So you're from Bay St. Anne, New Brunswick,
Yes, I am.
and you have a connection with Yvonne Durrell,
Yes,
who,
I do.
okay, can you tell us who Yvonne Durrell is and how you know him?
Yvonne Durrell is a light heavyweight Canadian champion. I knew Yvonne. We were brought up, or we weren't brought together, but he was brought up about well, not quite a mile from my place. And I was, Yvonne was quite a few years older than me, but still. And I followed. And my first part of it was when I first come to Halifax. I went to in boxing. I was trained by Lennis Park and Pete Paris, and they had a place club there on Creighton Street, I believe. We're there, and that's how I got involved in the first part of the boxing was because of Yvonne. In the later years, when I was wrestling, Yvonne was wrestling too, so we traveled the road a bit together too, with Yvonne. So we were good friends until he passed away.
And his son was really good friends with your brother, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, his younger son was good friend with my younger brother,
That was Paul.
Paul. Yeah, Paul Durrell. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, as I was growing up, I heard stories about you wrestling. And of course, growing up in the 80s, I was very interested in wrestling. Everybody was into wrestling. And you have a really big connection with one of the big wrestlers of the 1980s. Do you want to talk about your first time that you met him?
No, it was in the '80s. It was in the '70s.
Right. It was
Uh,
really big in the 80s.
well, yeah, he was. Yeah, he came. I met him when I went to Montreal. I think it was in the '69 or '70. Andre the Giant.
And he wrestled under the name something different at the time, right?
No, he wears under the Giant. Jean Ferre.
Jean Ferre. Okay.
Yeah, they just call him the Giant. Yeah, he was very nice guy, very nice. They call him the Gentle Giant. He was.
And you're probably the last person in Canada who wrestled with him, or
I know
who's
another.
still around today, right?
I know around today, Nova Scotia. I would say I'd be like they would say. I wrestled one of the seven wonder of the world. I wrestled him. I think it was about 4 times under the handicap match, 2 against 1. But you could have put 10 guys in the ring if you wanted to. If you got mad, nobody could do anything to him. But he was very nice to
And
people.
can you tell us the first time that you met him?
The first time I met him was when I first got to Montreal. I was wrestling in Verdun.
And why weren't you at the Montreal Forum?
The forum is some. We were supposed to be at the forum. Some cement part of the building outside, the canopy was falling. They shut it down, so we had to go to Verdun. So I was in the dressing room getting my boots and getting dressed for my match. That night I was wrestling Donnie O'Jonathan. That was my first match in Montreal. And he came in, and I had my head down. I was putting my boots on. I look at the foot come in the door. It was about 2.5 feet long. And I said, "Holy mackerel!" Like, then I easy it, looking up, kept looking up, and look at the ceiling. Said, "Holy Christ!" I said, "Me, that I got to wrestle that," and I did down the road. But like I said, never got hurt. I mean, he was gentle. He was a gentleman. Very nice to me.
And
And
you and him used to you had talked about wrestling with him. And again, growing up, he used to say that the reason your knees are bad is because of his body slams. Is that
well,
right?
yeah, well, I don't know if it's a body slam or not. Well, you get your knees get beat up. All the wrestlers, it happens then because you take your knee drop and you hit the concrete and then else you're damaged. I had both my knees operated on, broken ribs, and
And when you were practicing with Andre the Giant or Jean Ferre at the time, what was that like?
I didn't practice with him. No, it was no practice. It was just our matches. Was it? It was good. It was a good match. We traveled the road. My last 6 months on the road, I was we traveled with the same circuit with the Giant and the wrestler like Donnie O'Jonathan, Blackjack Mulligan, Edouard Carpentier, the Vachon, the Leduc, the Kalmakov, the Kangaroos. I in my days I wrestled all the top wrestlers at my time, like between the '60s and the '70s. They were the top wrestlers, and I met them all.
And what was it like to go up against Andre the Giant, Jean Ferre?
Kind of scary at first, but you wouldn't hurt yourself. But I mean, could get hurt. But it was different. It was like fighting a mountain. But it was good. But there was other big guys there too. Johnny O'Jonathan was 6'6", so he was a big guy too. I got hurt pretty bad with him. After my match, I got hurt my chest. I was bringing up blood for about 2 weeks after, but those are the days you work. You didn't work every night, you didn't get paid. And the people was talking about today, they're making top money. In our days, it wasn't. I mean, see some wrestlers say, he said they had a hard time. I know it's like I slept in my car a few times. I mean, I never went hungry, but it was hard. It wasn't easy on the road. You weren't making no $4,000 or $5,000 a week. You're
what
lucky if
would
you
what would you make?
a good week. I might make maybe 500, 450, 500 a week. But other than that, people say, well, in the '70s, that was good money. It was, but you had to pay for your gas, you had to pay for your lodging, you had to pay for all your equipment. You paid for everything. So, by the end of the week, you're making no more money than somebody else was, but at least, but you didn't work no 8 hours a day for it.
Right.
But your body did, but you did. So it was our time. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it didn't. I liked it.
Um, you have some programs just beside
There's a
you.
program that was some of the wrestlers I worked with.
Do you want to hold it up in front of you? Because there's a picture of Andre the Giant with
As long as you're
a
giant with a midget, but we didn't have that was taken maybe before I came up there because I don't. We I'm not I sure said not. Yeah, we did have midgets, but I don't know if we had wrestled with midgets or not. And I down on the opposite side, that's me, Cowboy Kirk below, and then Newt Noble. Him and I wrestled the giant together. We worked partner for a little bit. Then you got the Kalmakov, and on the other side, there's Blackjack Mulligan. That's another big guy. So we were quite a few wrestlers. I believe there were about 26 wrestlers on the circuit.
and that was which circuit was that again?
Grand Prix Wrestling.
That was Grand Prix Wrestling.
And these some
Those were your pictures?
those that was taken. Yeah, so those
Yeah.
those some of my pictures there.
That's the reason Mom married you.
I don't know about that, but She married me for money, that's for sure. Yeah, and and there's a couple other ones in here. Uh, there's Billy Two River, War Eagle. Billy Two River actually just passed away here a couple 3 months ago. He was a very nice guy. They're very everybody was nice. I found up there. We didn't find any better.
Is that Andre the Giant there?
No,
No.
no, that's this other wrestlers. I don't know their name. There's so many of them. And Reggie Park, I believe he was from New Zealand. He's the one that got me to go to, Paul Vachon. He got me, the promoter. He got me to go up to Montreal.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So these are the guys, and there's a picture of the giant hair again up top there. I don't know if you can see it.
Hold on, I'm just going to zoom in. Okay, the
It is-
giant is back to teach. What does it say? The giant is back to teach the bad ones a lesson they'll never forget. Okay.
Yeah. So there's some of the pictures, and then there's just some pictures my wife put together when I was younger. My wrestling pictures. Put some in there. I went from boxing to bodybuilder, weightlifter. Then I went in amateur wrestling, and I went to pro wrestling, and that was my time I had.
So growing up, again, I used to hear stories about you wrestling Andre the Giant. And you had told me he was a big practical joker.
Oh, he was, yeah, he was. Yeah. We had one of our referee. We were in Rimouski wrestling that one night, and we're all having a drink downstairs. Coke, of course,
Of course.
And he was gone about, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. And he came back down. He was laughing, and we didn't think nothing about it until the referee went back to his room. Then he came back down. He was some wild. The giant had gone up, took his bed apart, and put all the sheets, blanket, everything in the bathtub, filled full of water, and left it there. So when George, I think his name was George Gangy, when he so they had to give him another room. There was nothing left in the room. He had to took everything apart. Of course, the hotel didn't mind because they was bringing a lot of people in there because the giant was there, so people would come into the club. But they gave him another room. But that was a good one. Yeah, he was bad for playing tricks on people. Yeah. And seeing one day we were going up with was War Eagle, Billy Two River, and myself, and the giant was driving through. Would be the other side of Riviere de Loup would be probably around that area. We're wrestling in Rimouski. Might have been the same night. Of course, he had to stop and relieve himself. He went by a farmer's barn. So the guy got out. Not the giant, but the guy got out. He went and had a leak, I guess. And once he got in the barn, the giant got out and grabbed some rocks and started throwing at him. Wouldn't let him out of the barn. In the meantime, the farmer come out. He came out and looked at the giant, turned around, we're right back in the house. So stuff like that he would pull on the guys, he was quite the guy. Yeah.
And you also played a joke on him.
Well, not much on him, on Rudy Key and Al Zink. Because I came back from Montreal, and that International Wrestling was still working here. And he was wrestling. I forget who he was wrestling that night. I went up to see him. Of course, I walked in the dressing room, and Al Zink and Rudy Key was there. And I said, "Where's that big guy at?" He said, "Well, you just went in there to take a shower." I said, "That's good." I said, "I'm going to straighten him out." So I walked in, I jumped on his back. and they thought I was going to get killed because they didn't think I knew him. But my last 6 months on the road, I was with him. So of course you could hear noise in the shower room. Come out and they thought I was dead. We're sitting there laughing, telling jokes because he didn't think I lived up here. I thought I was up from Montreal somewhere.
Mm.
Yeah, so we had a good talk. But that was about a year I hadn't seen him, so that was nice. Nice
And
meeting
you
him.
guys were one of the only French guys on this circuit, right?
Oh no, you know, the Vachons are French.
But they were in on Grand Prix, is that right?
Grand Prix, yeah.
Yeah.
International wrestling. No, Rudy Kay and the Bobby Kay, Leo Burt.
Mm-hmm.
They're all brothers. They're all French.
Okay.
Yeah, they're French. No.
And you
So,
said before it was easier to speak French with Andre the Giant.
yeah, his French was closer to mine compared to Montreal French.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, everybody got a slang, different slang.
Yeah.
They're French. Same in my home. Base at end, and they got Scuminac, Point Sepa. This is what 13 miles across. They got a different slang in their French.
Yeah.
So we know that's why it's hard. French a lot of different slang in the French.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andre the Giant wasn't the only famous guy that you wrestled with. You want to talk
Oh no,
about?
all the top wrestlers I've worked with. Like Jack Mulligan, he was the top wrestler in his year. He's worked Carpronchi. He was he was a top wrestler. Uh,
And you also have a connection with The Rock.
the Rocky Johnson, yeah, Rocky Johnson. His last year here and my last year wrestling, I traveled with him and I traveled the whole summer together. Yeah, quite a bit.
That's
It was one thing, put in together was you, it, they tried the promoter tried to match you with somebody to travel. So if you got along with the guy, they match. So Rock and I got along good. You know,
you had talked before, or we had talked about racism at that time. Did you feel that
what's that? Racism?
racism?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, yeah. It still is. There always will be. Say not they're not just against like against colored people. I'm I go as a cowboy, but I'm a Métis, Indian Métis. My background, my family.
Mm.
But yeah, you can feel it, different place. But it didn't for me now. I was never bothered really. But for some people, yeah,
Did you ever see anything, or you just kind of felt it?
just you feel it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you feel it. But no, we got along good on the road. Rocky and I, we traveled quite a bit. Like I said, he had a car. But like one week I would take my car, and the next week he would take his. And he had no Continental. I wouldn't say the year was probably maybe a 65, 67, somewhere around there. But paint was light blue. And inside you had one of those house phones stuck on the dash, a blue phone, house phone. Didn't work. So don't touch the phone. It cost money to use it. Wouldn't use it. Wasn't plugged in. There was no wiring to it. But he had that on the dash of his car. Yeah, big old Continental. And I had a Mustang then, so my car was cheaper on gas than his. So we drove with mine quite a bit.
And you'd go and pick them up. The wrestlers would pick each other up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, when we started on the road for the week together all week, just we travel.
Mm-hmm. You never saw him after that summer, eh?
No, I came home at the end of that summer wrestling when Grand Prix International thing closed down because they weren't open in the winter here. I went to Montreal and he went to the state, I believe, and I never saw him after.
Mm-hmm.
No, we never kept in touch. But I know he went to the state. I went to Montreal and then I came back home and
Mm-hmm.
that was it. Yeah.
Did he ever talk about his family?
Not really. No, he was kind of quiet on that. I know his mother, his father, I believe, had left his mother, but I know his mother was remarried, but the guy I know they got into a fight and he left. I believe at the end he was staying with his grandmother.
Mm.
Then we got on the road and then he left that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old were you at the time?
I started, I was around 21, 22, I believe, somewhere
When you
around there.
left or when you started?
When I first started,
Yeah.
no, I started wrestling, I was around 18. somewhere around there. Yeah.
You also played, I don't know if it was you, a joke on Rocky
Oh, the
Johnson.
rock. Yeah, he was scared of rats, petrified. But we come out of St. John one night. There we're wrestling in St. John. We come out of St. John, and this white rat ran in front of the car. Holy Christ! I thought he was going to pass out. He went right foolish. So we'd be sitting in the dressing room, and after you imagine the guy go take a shower, we'd take a pair of socks and roll it, and Rock would be there taking a shower, and I would throw the socks and say, "Rats, rats!" I said, "You will see a guy come out of there, come out of that shower. Don't go in the way. Don't get in the way." Yeah, he was scared of rats. Yeah. And roll a pair of socks up, throw it in the shower.
So you wrestled. What was the circuit?
Circle would start. We started in Monday night used to be Moncton. Tuesday night was the Forum. Wednesday morning we'd do CGCH TV show. Wednesday, I think Wednesday was Sydney or an Antigonish. Thursday was either St. John. Friday was Fredericton. Uh, Saturday. Quite a few years now. I forget where we travel. Either was ending it, then maybe it was North Sydney. I know we were gone all week. It used to be a complete circle, yeah.
And you've wrestled in Detroit as well. That was with International Wrestling or Grand Prix?
No, I was just I started. The Sheik was running that show there. I didn't stay there. I went there and until didn't feel good there, so I came home, and I'm glad I did.
And you had said before that Detroit, when you were there, like they took wrestling really seriously.
They did, yeah, but the reason I didn't want to stay there, I mean, that's why they had that riot. That was in the 70, 71. Then I came back and I went to Montreal, but it was bad. Detroit was bad, and I don't know why. I just felt I didn't feel right to stay there. I was supposed to hit that way in back in the state, and then I heard what about some of the wrestlers. They weren't paying. Some of them wrestlers were making $10 a night,
Wow.
and they had to pay. A lot of them, and they had that you see on TV. That Steve Stone Cold
Stone Cold Steve Austin?
was saying they would wrestle. They go 200-300 miles for $10. He
Wow.
had a hard time, and I'm glad I didn't go because I was alone. I was the only Canadian going over there, and I didn't feel right. I can't take back. Got on a plane, came home, then I went to Montreal.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it was a hard time. It was people say, "Oh, you're making lots of money." Yeah, right. No, I mean it was kind of good money because pay scale at that time, construction was about the top really paying unless you were a lawyer. It was around $80, $90 a week. So you made $400 a week. It was good, but like I said, you had to pay all your expenses. So at the end, you didn't, you know,
Or anything else you can think that you might want to tell people about wrestling at that time?
if you can't go, don't do it. Don't go into it.
Why do you say that?
It's not what it's all out to be. You know, the old days. Today's different. I mean, the old day was you work hard. Today, I mean, was always you didn't want to kill the guy out there. But today they're going to They got ladders, sledgehammer, barbed wire, and that. It's not wrestling anymore. I don't feel it is. In my days, if you got caught with anything in your hand, you hit a guy and even you roll a bag of chips, the referee thought you're disqualified. Now you walk in the ring with a chair and everybody else and garbage can and three guys beat on one, then the guy wins. So
It's more
and
entertainment.
more entertainment, yeah. But when we did, you got hurt. You got hurt. We got hurt. You weren't out there to break your arm or leg or anything because I said, if you got hurt, you don't get paid. You don't travel on the road. The only thing the guy would do, everybody would chip in together and put some money aside for you till you got better. Because the insurance would be so high, you wouldn't be able to afford an insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And was everybody chip in maybe $20 each, and you didn't get rich, but at least you kept you on the road, which you pay your room and your meal till say you hurt your arm or leg or knee, unless it broke, you're off for 2 3 months, and you would come home.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, if you only for a week or so or two, the guys usually it would everybody cover each other, and that was the rule. Same if you walk into a club, you fought that guy tonight and you got cut up bad, you're bleeding all over the place. But once you walk in there, you send a drink over to him, he would do the same for you. It was you act as gentlemen. Not you do your fighting was in the ring, not outside. And like I say, we back each other up. Something would happen, everybody would cover each other.
There's a real community then.
Right, it was. Well, you had to be because you're on your own with your group. They were your family, really. And I found I got treated very well in Montreal.
Yeah.
Yes, better than I got treated here.
Really?
Yes.
How so?
Oh, eh, international wrestling. Yeah. To me, I found the Cormiers. Everything had to be them. But there was nobody but them. To me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was from New Brunswick. I only live about 80 some miles from them, but I wasn't part of their group really. No, I wasn't. Even though Bobby Kay and I wrestled partner, was never. But that's life. I had broad shoulders. I could handle it. But and with international wrestling, then Grand Prix. Well, Grand Prix, Yvonne and I worked for Emile Dupre. But
That's Yvonne Durrell?
Yvonne Durrell, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So him and I worked for Emile Dupre. So we got along. That was the thing with Yvonne. I got home, I couldn't go home. He wouldn't drive me home, so I had to stay with him. He would pull pranks on me too. I had to watch him.
Yvonne did?
Oh yeah, he was bad. But we were good friends. At the end, I would go see him. He would come up see me or his son, the young fella. Yeah, Yvonne and I got along. Every time I go home, I go see him. I had to go see him. Yeah. So I walked in the liquor store one day. He was working at the liquor store, and I walked in. He used to call me Kirk all the time. I said, "What are you doing, Yvonne?" He said, "I'm writing a song." He was sitting up in the office with a pencil. Yeah, I'm writing a song.
Did he ever sing it for you?
No, he couldn't sing. Couldn't even whistle. But you and I, we got along good. Yeah. Yeah, we got along. We traveled together. He had a little Volkswagen. That we. He was a game warden at that time, plus he was wrestling on the side. Yeah, we were doing. We was all right.
Okay. Thank you.
About it. That is.
That's it.
There you go.